What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingDudes.com. Welcome back to another one of our previews. We kick off another week, and we got another big 3-year-old race coming up this weekend at Saratoga. It is the Jim Dandy Stakes coming up, race 10 on Saturday, field of 5 for this one. It's a very small field, but it is a very good field as well. So, it's kind of, we have to deal with the small field, but at least it's the kind of the right horses to make this entertaining. All right, I'll put it up on the screen now. Like I said, it is going to be race 10 there, the Jim Dandy, and we do have Sovereignty back after winning the Kentucky Derby and the Belmont Stakes. He is back in this one. But before we get to him, let's go through them one by one, pick you a winner out here at the end, and let's see what's happens here. Let's see if we're going to go against or with when it comes to Sovereignty. All right, let's start with the number 1 Basa, who's, logically seems to be the horse that, is the biggest threat to Sovereignty in this race, even though he has been defeated pretty easily, really, twice by him. He's still the one that has the most upside out of the field. Right now, it just kind of feels like he hasn't gotten it all quite figured out. He kind of did get thrust into the deep end of the pool, basically. And, he's been okay. He ran third in both the Belmont and the Kentucky Derby. After only winning a maiden so far. He only has one victory. Of course, almost won the Sandman Derby as well. So people are kind of waiting, right? People are kind of waiting and seeing, what's going to happen with Basa. Can he take that next step forward? We're going to start to find out. Big surprise for me was that Hector Berrios is going to be here to ride Basa. So it will not be Flavien Prat. It's going to be Hector Berrios. So very, very interesting there as well. We'll see. We'll see if it makes any kind of difference whatsoever in this spot. All right, let's keep going to the number 2 horse, Sandman. And of course, Sandman, a horse that just mentally hasn't quite got it figured out throughout this whole thing. Of course, won the Arkansas Derby after a blazing pace was set and he was able to close in and get the job done. Really, not to be heard from really in the Kentucky Derby at all. And look, the Preakness, yeah, he did, make a run to get third, but kind of had every chance to win or at least run a little bit better and just didn't do that. So, I've heard a lot of good things about him since he arrived up at Saratoga. I've heard he's training really well. And, even Johnny Velasquez, who rode this horse last time out in the Preakness, he said, I feel like he has talent. He just doesn't really know what he's doing out there yet. So he's one to look as 3-year-olds mature and they get older. Sometimes they put it together and sometimes they're sons of tap it and they just don't, right? And that could be what happens here with Sandman, but I still find him interesting, and we'll see if he's kind of improved off of, just kind of running in spots is how I would kind of describe him. The number 3 is Mo Plex. He's the winner of the Ohio Derby, so it just makes sense that he tries this spot today. I think he's interesting from a pace standpoint in here because when you look at how the pace shapes up, Mo Plex is alone on the lead, most likely. He does look like he is the fastest horse in this race by quite a bit. So can he take him gate to wire? I don't know that it's absolutely impossible that he can do it, especially if the track, plays to speed really, really well at Saratoga. Maybe he can. Look, I think the Ohio Derby was a very good race from him. But this is obviously, it's a very much a different set of horses that he's got to beat this time around. And so that's going to be the big challenge for him. But I think from a pace standpoint, he's kind of dangerous, right? Just send him, see how far he could go. He went far enough in the Ohio Derby to beat those horses, right? And did it pretty easily. So steps up. He earned it, after that big win. We'll see him on the front end. We'll see if he can take him gate to wire. The number 4 is Hill Road. This is a horse that, did win the Peter Pan 2 races back, and I thought he was pretty good in that race. But we were skeptical going into the Belmont Stakes how that kind of that Peter Pan form would kind of translate. Some years it definitely does, and some years it doesn't. This year it didn't really. He really wasn't any kind of a threat in that one. You kind of look at this horse, he's very much one pace. He's going to take back and make one run. And that's kind of the same way with Sandman a little bit as well. And it's just like, I'm not sure I really want him in a 5-horse field at Saratoga coming from out of it. And I think at Hill Road, and then I think of a stablemate of his, Sierra Leone, who is still and was a very good horse last year. He couldn't really overcome that bias of Saratoga and the speed and trying to come from out of it in those short fields. He couldn't. So I don't think Hill Road's going to be able to either. He would be the one that would shock me the most if he wins. I would put it that way. Then finally, the horse that's not going to shock anybody is the number 5 Sovereignty, who has just turned into an absolute beast over the last 6 weeks. Well, even 8 weeks, I would say. Look, I think at this point, it's just going to be very, very tough to beat him. I thought the most impressive thing about his last race at the Belmont Stakes is he was able to sit a lot closer to the pace than normal, and he was still just came with the same run. So, if he can sit 2 or 3 links off what I think will be Moplex, and I think Baeza will kind of be right there with Sovereignty, he's probably going to be able to out gallop him to the wire, right? And I think this is just a horse that the more journalism comes back and wins races and is very impressively, the more you just look at Sovereignty and go, wow, journalism is really good, and he's not even close in his 2 starts to Sovereignty. And I mean, not even close at all. So his best effort is just better than this group. Even if Baeza was to really improve and Sandman kind of has it figured out, it just kind of feels like to me Sovereignty is just better than this group. Even if, they do kind of improve a bit, I think they're going to need him to come back to him a little bit. Now, let's kind of talk about, okay, will he come back to him a little bit, or is that in the realm of possibility? There's 2 angles if you want to try to play against him. Number one, he is shortening up to 1 mile and 1/8 for this race, where those 2 just brilliant efforts were at 1 mile and 1/4. The thing I will say, that does make sense because you do look at the Florida Derby. He lost at 1 mile and 1/8. So I would sit here and tell you, yeah, I get why you would want to do that. These last 2 races, though, if they would have ended at 1 mile and 1/8, I have no doubt he would have won, especially the Belmont. So I don't really worry about the distance. I will, kind of concede that, yeah, if it was 1 mile and 1/4, that would be better for him. Travers is 1 mile and 1/4. We'll see that. But at 1 mile and 1/8, I still think he's good enough, and I think he'll be okay, especially after what he did in the Belmont Stakes, where he was able to sit a lot closer. The other thing, and I think this is something that it kind of, people kind of got proven right, or at least, you could say there's a chance they were right. This is a prep for the Travers, kind of like the races down in Florida were preps for the Kentucky Derby. Maybe he's not 100% cranked. Maybe he's not full out. I could see that. Look, if he runs his Florida Derby race, he's probably getting beat, right? I just think he's a totally different animal now than he was. And so even if he isn't fully cranked for this race, I still kind of think he's just a better horse now than he was during the winter. So I like him an awful lot this race. I think he's going to be very, very tough to beat. So without further ado, the number 5 Sovereignty will be my top pick in this race. I'll be singling him in all the sequences as well. If you like Sovereignty, you kind of have to single him unless you want to play a long shot with him. But you can't really do like Sovereignty Baeza, right? You can't really play them both. You got to just pick one. Sovereignty just seems like the logical one. If you wanted to play the 3 Moplex, is kind of a longer shot that say, hey, maybe he'll just go gate to wire. You could do that for sure. But for me, I think Sovereignty is the one. I'll be singling him, and I'll put him on top of all exactas or tries, and try to get it underneath, just like last week with journalism. Same kind of strategy here with Sovereignty. So I'm going to go number 5 Sovereignty to win this year's running of the Jim Dandy. All right, that'll do it for this preview. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit subscribe. You really like it. Want to get alerted at any time we do previews like this. And most importantly, check out the Saratoga Betting Bible this weekend, and check out all the other Saratoga products. The Rockets are very hot, hit for $2,700, the late pick 5 last week at Saratoga. So check that out as well. And just check out the website for everything horse racing related and horse picks related. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.